Hi, for my speech for my first persuasive, I decided to do it on the connection from high school football to CTE. I thought this was a really important thing because high school football is one of the biggest high school sports across the country. Everybody plays it. I played it growing up. All my friends played it. I have a deep connection with football, and I have seen high school football, and I have also seen people with CTE and seen how that affected people, which made me feel this was the right speech for me to do. For my outline, my two problem citations. The first one came from the Concussion Foundation, which talks about the story of an 18-year-old, well, high school player back in 2019, Wyatt Bramwell. He was a football player, he played all 4 years, and at the age of 18 in 2019, he committed suicide. After the doctors had done their studies and looked at it, they found out he had stage 2 CTE, which is almost unheard of for someone that age. Wyatt Bramwell, he had played football his entire life growing up from the age of, I want to say it was around 8 years old. And I just thought this was an important citation to use because it shows a real life example of what this can do and how he had plenty of years left in his life and they were gone due to CTE. The next one that I use is from Time. It's just an article talking about the symptoms of CTE, mood swings, aggression, depression, suicide. It was important to use because I find that a lot of people don't actually understand what CTE does. As I was talking to my family about me doing this speech, I told them CTE, and they were like, "What's CTE? What does that do?" So I find adding this in to let people know what the symptoms are is super important. So those were my two problem citations. Moving on to my causes, I used an article from Boston University. I used it once for causes and then also for solutions because I thought there was something good there. But for the causes, it says that kids who start early sustain more hits to their head and are more likely to develop CTE. CTE is built up from multiple head traumas and multiple hits over the age, so starting early leads to more hits over time, leading to more likely to get CTE. I also use for causes, I use some research from the CDC. CDC did a research on a bunch of stuff on concussions, but the one that I found is that high school football has the highest concussion rate out of any youth sport in the nation. Uh, this is a huge cause for CTE because concussions lead to CTEs, and if high school football is this high up on the list, that means that high school football is a huge cause for all these hits are a huge cause for the CTE that comes. So those are what I used for my causes. I thought that they did a good example of just showing what actually causes what from high school football causes that. Next up, moving on to my solutions, going back to the Boston University article that I found, it says that CTE doubles every 2.5 years. And so by starting early, your chances double. So they actually recommend that you don't start playing tackle football until around the age of 14. I find this to be a good solution because you can still play tackle football. There are still other alternatives that let you develop the skills and the love for the game of football before taking all the hits to the head that can damage your entire body. And lastly, I took a I took a piece from the NCC SIR. They did a research on every year they have a report on all the injuries in football and sports. And they said that the NCAA actually does pre-year physicals before every season to check players and to see where they're at. That way, when they get an injury later on in the year, coaches can look at it, the doctors can look at it, and understand where they're at and actually the difference. So you can get a better frame of reference on them because not everybody's the same. And so if you just go off a baseline, some people might be on different levels and you're not able to evaluate their injury properly, which I think is a huge problem when it comes to letting them go back to return to play. And so if the NCAA does this and higher levels are doing this for their players, I feel that it is important for high school to do it because as we're finding out, a lot of CTE can stem from high school, and I think it's important to stop it at the root because CTE builds up, and so you have to stop it where it starts. So those are my outlines. That was my outline. Those were my citations. I'm very passionate about this speech, and I'm excited to complete it.